there to see all the greatness I possess, endless possibilities. Looking in the mirror, what do I see?
Welcome to another segment of the Seek Elevation Experience with yours truly, attorney Alakisha. Yes, I am an attorney, but I may not be your attorney, so I'm not giving legal advice, even though I may give legal gems for you to take and to create diamonds with, to run with. But right here on Seek Elevation, this is where real issues, real people, and real conversations take center stage. Because like I always say, change does not happen in silence. So from sports to entertainment to business and community, right here on Seek Elevation, we break down truth, we spark meaningful change, and we elevate voices that need to be heard. That includes your voice as the viewer, as the listener. No matter if you're watching live or you end up watching a replay, you can always come back and comment, because your voice needs to be heard. And in this space, we don't just talk. We empower, inspire, and definitely challenge the status quo. And I believe this is needed more now than ever. It's always needed. But with so much noise and so many things going on, I am grateful to create a space where we can do those things. So whether you're an athlete, you're an entertainer, a business leader, or just someone striving for a better life, these conversations that are curated are definitely for you. And what I want Seek Elevation to be, which I know it is, what I want everyone to come in alignment with what it is that this is a power source. Seek Elevation is a power source for change seekers that are ready to elevate, build, and lead. And that's where those conversations will go. So I'm happy that you're tapping in. Make sure that you share, you tag someone. Definitely do that. Drop comments, engage anywhere that you want to, that you feel you need to engage. And let's just make impact together. I'm impacting you, you're impacting me, and together we're just all impacting. So today's segment, what I'm going to do, it is Talent to Tables is the name of the segment, Talent to Tables. And we're talking about using your talent to create equity and ownership. But this is part one. What I want to do tonight, is to just lay a foundation, to shift your mind on this topic, to prepare you for next Tuesday, where I'm going to have a guest who's going to bring it all in. But when I talk about talent, I'm talking about more than performance, because a lot of times we hear talent and we may just think athlete or creative. I'm literally talking about your talent and gift, whatever that is. It's more than just performance. It can be athletically related. It can be entertainment related, but we have skills, all types of skills, especially in our mind. And in my legal practice, I curate so many deals that hinges upon talent. And I felt this topic was necessary to bring to the forefront, because these are some of the things I do behind the scenes, and I don't think we talk about it enough. honestly, I don't really see it talked about much unless I'm within other, types of circles about talent being our currency and what talent actually means. So I wanted to bring that topic here. So the goal for me tonight is to have you shift from just thinking about one, what talent is, right? Talent is your gift in all shape, forms, or fashion. And for you to think about how to use your talent to build your own table, your own equity, your own legacy. Again, we talk about ownership, legacy. We talk about it in a certain way all the time, front facing in the public. But I want us to dig a little deeper to see if you was thinking about it this way. So by the end of this live stream, my objective is that you will understand, how to build ownership that extends beyond your current job, the business that you may be running, or any industry that you may be in. Yes, you heard me correctly. This topic is for entrepreneurs, but also employees, for creatives and athletes. This is something that can touch all areas, and you'll learn how to create opportunities that open up doors, that generates, extra income. And everyone needs that now. I mean, generating extra income is a plus with a lot that's going on, but also just building long-term success. And so I want to definitely lay that foundation, and then excited to welcome the guests that we have next week that will talk about their experience and also hopefully have, opportunities or resources, because I don't believe in just talking as well. A lot of times that's what we're so used to, that we sit down and we hear someone talk at us instead of with us or amongst us. But also we just get comfortable in just hearing something that makes us feel good. Whether we go to a church sermon and we feel good and we leave and there's no action, whether we go to these motivational seminars, they hype us up, we feel good, we leave, and then nothing happens. I want us to not just come here to feel good. And again, like I said, it's definitely a power source, but I want to be the plug for not just the information, but the connection and what we can do with that information. So why does this even all matter? Let me make sure I turn off my phone so we don't get any distractions here. Why does this even matter? Because, like I just started off earlier, we're all taught, one, what the word talent mean or entrepreneurship mean, all that stuff means. But we're not really taught how to showcase our talent. We're never really taught how to create ownership with our talent. And talent can get us in rooms, but ownership is what gives us the power to stay and build. And that's why I said we need to build our own tables. That's not just about getting in the rooms. When I say get in rooms, whether it's you landed that great job with your talent, now what, right? You at the mercy of somebody else. You signed that great contract because of your talent. Now what? You're at the mercy of, someone else. So I want us to dig deep into that. And we know that talent alone doesn't guarantee us any type of financial freedom. Talent alone doesn't do that. Learning how to maximize, multiply our talent can actually do that. In most industries, whether we're talking about corporate, whether we're talking about sports, whatever, most industries profit from talent, not with talent. And I just want to digress just for a little bit, because this is This is front and center. This is timely. This is real. This is happening now. I haven't seen the movie Sinners yet. There's so many different things being posted about it. A lot of great things are being posted about it. I was surprised to see actually some post about it that, if you're a Christian or God-fearing person, don't go see this movie because there's a lot there. So there's all things posted about it. But what caught my attention, speaking and staying along the lines of this topic tonight, is I've seen these long posts and, everyone was hyped up about hearing Ryan's deal, right? His entertainment deal, his entertainment contract for this movie. And one of the things that they point out is that, Ryan did something that's absolutely unheard of. It's you don't get this thing that he did. He negotiated to own his rights to be reverted back to him within 25 years. And everyone was like, this is the movement. This is the time. This is the time for creators now. The time for the big boxes and the bricks and mortars. Their time is ending. It's over. And I'm not going to go too much into this because I may have another segment that will tie into this and we can dive in deeper. But sometimes it's a little frustrating and infuriating when I see certain things happen and we write it just as a meme, a hashtag, a moment to, I know it's in our excitement, but it's literally a moment and not a movement, because I can tell just by some of the things that share or said, there's not due diligence in understanding, what's going on. And I know it's more emotionally driven. So the one thing I wanted to just point out here for my seekers, because that's what we do. We come on here to learn and to just process things a little deeper. Firstly, kudos to Ryan Coogler for just standing 10 toes down. It's not that it's unheard of, the right of reversion, right? The right of reversion is something that is automatically, by law, by copyright law, vested within the author. Right of reversion. That is where you start. That is the starting ground. What changes or happen from there is totally different. But the right of reversion in copyright law, it refers to a statutory mechanism, a way by statute that allows authors or their heirs to reclaim rights that were previously granted to others. And this is done after a certain period of time. And it's codified in law already. It's codified in our copyright law under duration and under termination. And it allows the original author who have transferred or assigned their rights to someone else that within 35 years from the time of that transfer, or after the execution date of that transfer, that the rights will revert right back to that author. And the purpose of the revisionary rights that the copyright law offers, it was established to protect authors from ill-advised transfers. That was done a lot historically, right? Legally. You had individuals that went in and didn't know either at all about their copyright or how important or valid it is, right? So it was all of these things done, and they were just ill-advised, and they transferred rights. And before they can even fully appreciate the value of what they actually transferred, they were losing it. And so the right of reversion is already a right vested in you as a copyright owner. And it allows you to be able to transfer and do the things you need to do to get in the rooms, to get opportunities and all these things. But for you not to lose the value of work that may appreciate later. And it definitely ensures that the author or their heirs have a second opportunity to control and benefit from their copyright. So, yes, under copyright law, as the starting base, as an author, you can reclaim your copyright ownership even after you transfer it through a contract by exercising your termination rights under Copyright Act. Now, yes, there are specific procedural requirements that you have to do. Like there's ways you have to do it, or you can use it or lose it. There's timelines and all these things that before your termination time come up, there's things that you have to do, and you have to do it a certain way. And of course, there's the limitations that you can terminate this right for you. And that's the issue. It's not that it was unheard of, we can't do this. A lot of times, one, we're not reading these contracts that are terminating these rights. And there's a very specific way. I'm gonna give you one specific way that you can terminate these rights. Because even if in a contract they had all this heavy language that says, it's irrevocable, we can't revoke back to you, you're waiving the right to terminate, you're waiving your right to revoke, even with all that, you still have your right. It can't be waived. But how you actually produce the work and turn over the work can. So one example I'm gonna give, because I don't want to get too much into it, so it's not turning into like I'm giving legal advice. I just want you to think about this and dig deeper. But when you do something as a work for hire, you're not even the author, right? Because you're doing it as a commission work. And if you're doing it as a commission work, which is listed again in copyright law under the Copyright Act of what can be considered commission work, then you're not even an author to begin with. So there's different ways that things were done contractually where the right of reversion isn't the playing field. But I just wanted to plug that in, is that, this is something that's already there. It's not that it's unheard of. It's really kind of unheard of us to stand 10 toes down or even know what is our right. And to be fair, I will say that even when people have legal representation, a lot of attorneys don't even cover this, because a lot of attorneys are industry standard driven. That is the conversation. That is the baseline. If we're an attorney that operate within the entertainment space, sports space, whatever it is, sometime by default, we roll with that, right? We say, okay, well, these are the industry standards. We're going to negotiate and have conversations based on what we know the industry standard is. But like I always tell individuals, industry standards is not the law. And you have to know the law. And I think it is, it is on us when I say us, attorneys, when you legally repping somebody, regardless of what we believe, I do believe it is our due diligence to at least inform and educate our clients on what it all looks like, what it all means, and then let our clients decide what they want to do from there. But a lot of times we don't talk about this. And I'm willing to bet that if a lot of contracts are read in the industry, music industry, film industry, I'm willing to bet there are a lot of individuals that don't even know that they had a right of reversion of a copyright that they signed over. Actually, I do these little segments called In Case You Didn't Know. I believe this one dropped, but I recorded one. If it didn't drop yet, it's about to drop. About, a rap group that got their rights back, all their copyright back from the record label because of right of reversion. Those 35 years was up. They got their rights. And that label did not get that work in a manner that from the artist in a way that would have stopped the right of reversion. So I believe a lot of people don't know that. It's already there. But kudos to Ryan. I just want to put that out there before we jump on things and say what's not, what's this. I think we should empower ourselves. So back to the regular program. Speaking of ownership, equity is a huge way for us, no matter what you're doing, to gain ownership. And now let me clarify ownership, because some people say, listen, I I don't feel like owning anything. I'm not running anything. I don't want to be the boss of anything. I don't understand what that means. I don't want that. You don't have to run something when I say ownership. You don't have to be a owner, but I strongly believe all of us should have some type of ownership in something. Last Tuesday, we had our guest on that talked about um, just investing, what that look like, and all type of ways to invest. You can have ownership that way. But what I'm talking about is literally ownership in other companies, where there's different ways that you can do that, where you're not actually, you don't have to do the work unless that's something that you want. But also on the flip side, how you can bring people into your company, and they can build their table within your company. But when I'm saying equity, I'm talking about forms of compensation where you get partial ownership in a company, and it's reflected in either, shares, interest. It depends on the type of entity. We won't get all into that, but just know that you can get ownership, and equity means a lot. It means a lot. It can mean constant payout to you. And I do this all the time with my clients. You may hear a lot NIL thrown around, right? Name, image, and likeness. You probably hear that a lot because it became very hot and popular to talk about right now because of college sports. Name, image, and likeness. But name, image, and likeness, NIL, has always been around. In order for us to do business, in order for us to do business at all, we're doing it with our name, image, and likeness. It's just right now, it's new for athletes in college, and now we went to high school, to start participating in the trade for their value. But NIL is not a sport term. This is what we can use. This is our talent. This is our gift. This is our intellectual property in motion. And we can use our talents and the gifts to negotiate, either being, as a co-founder with someone else. You can use your gifts as an employee, as an investor, as an advisor. And of course, if you're just an entrepreneur and want to bring somebody else in. So what do you mean by this, Alakisha? How can you do this? Just to give you an example. I, for one, was offered equity into a company that was a startup company for attorneys. What they wanted was like attorneys, like a referral type system of attorneys. And I was offered part ownership to bring my talent to the table of this startup company. And in that part ownership, the equity that I would have received would have been a percentage of ownership, where I'm constantly getting paid based on the profit of that company. I did not accept that offer for different reasons. And, you want to make sure you vet all offers, and that when you're searching for things, that you know what you're searching for. But that's how you can do it. For my clients, I negotiate what's called sweat equity. If their name, image, and likeness, or whatever they're doing, whether it's they have a skill set that startup need, and they can't necessarily pay them exactly what the ask is based on their value or worth, they can get a payment plus equity. And that equity is always paying on there. So even if the person leaves, and again, this has to be contractual, and the language, make sure everything is covered. When they leave, they constantly still have ownership in that situation and constantly get paid off of it. So I want to show you something really quickly. Just to give you an example of what I'm speaking about this person who also, have done it, have used it. And, there are certain situations that I will do it. But there's certain situations that I will not do it. And some of these things will be brought up here. So let me share this. And I hope you can hear it. Give me a thumbs up if you're able to.
Hey, you want to hear a secret? Do you know most people think that to acquire ownership in a company, to buy stock, they have to reach into their wallet and come out with cash and pay for it? But the truth is that that's just a lie. You can actually acquire ownership in companies by doing something for them. Just a little bit of effort. We call it sweat equity, and you can own 3, 5, 50, even 75% of companies. Let's talk about it. So one of my favorite ways to do deals is to get equity in companies doing these 3 things that I'm going to share with you right now. These 3 free ways to build equity in companies.
Okay, he's going to talk about 3 ways. But remember, I told you there's so many different ways, right? But these are just 3 ways that he will talk about how he actually does it. So hopefully it could spark something. But there's so many other ways to actually get equity, ownership, build your ownership, your table. Because even if it's in someone else's company, right? You're taking the wood from that company to build your table in that company because it's still yours. And what you negotiate, right, can give you enumerated rights as big or as small as you're able to negotiate. And if the more talent you have, the more skill you have, the more leverage that you actually have in that conversation.
Okay, so let's talk about how you do these deals. This is basically an earn in to equity. This is where we're going to take some actions that are going to be valuable to the people that own these companies. And in exchange for that, instead of paying us money or instead of us paying them money for the equity, we're going to get equity ownership in the company. That's pretty cool. There's a few different ways that you can do this. The first way is advisor. And I've done a ton of deals like this, right? This is where you're going to get typically between 1 and 5%. So it's not going to be like a huge amount, but imagine having 1 to 5% of 4 or 5 companies. If you had 5% of 4 companies, it's like having 20% of 1, right? So this is where we're going to be available to answer questions that come up and maybe even be available to participate maybe once a quarter in an advisory board meeting. So what happens is companies have these people.
So just stopping right there. So many times people you may have information or knowledge or skills that can actually help companies. And I mentioned startup, but it doesn't have to be a startup, right? So I've asked to be a part of board of directors for all types of companies. I was a board of director for the Georgia Music Industry Association, GMA. So it could be all different types of levels. But a lot of times we need to do, before we just say yes, right? Before we say yes in giving away our talent and skill, we have to think about how to be creative on how this can actually help me build ownership. This is a talent I have, and I want to convert this asset into something that is actual tangible. So it could be advisory role that you are exchanging your talent for ownership. You can say, yes, I'll be advisor, right? So it could be payment, but you can get some payment. But our goal here is to talk about how can you continue to build all these little tables. You can say, okay, I would like some type of equity. And as he stated, what advisory role are you? Are you really helping this company move forward? Like for me, legal, that's big. That was big for a company. That was big for GMIA because a lot of things can happen, right? So is it accountant? Are you accountant? Are you someone who understands IT, computers? We're moving more rapidly, aggressively in a complex manner with AI. Do you understand artificial intelligence? Do you understand that stuff? So you need to identify companies to say, hey, I have this skill where I understand all this tech stuff. I understand all these things. So even as an entrepreneur, you can even have your own business, but go build these other tables. You may do that for your company. Go find other companies you do it for. You may be an accountant. Find other companies to do that for, where you're building ownership in these other companies. And on an advisory role, again, depending on what your role is and the depth in which you advise, then that gives you room to negotiate that equity in that company. So as that company is making money, you are too. You are owner of that company as well. You have built that table.
Who they're looking to that have expertise in a specific area. So you've got, all of you, everyone that's watching this has expertise. You know something cool that you could share with companies to help them be worth more. Maybe it's going to help them make more money. Maybe it's going to help them make the value of the company go up. Maybe you know something about sales or how to hire people or how to build funnels or anything you can think of. Any skill you have can be turned in to an advisory role in a company. You just have to know how to do it. Okay, that's the first kind. Now, for me, one of the examples would be I've got a guy that is the CEO of Radio Shack. He's the CEO of Steinmart. He's the CEO of Pier 1 Imports. Lots of companies that a lot of people have heard about, right? Well, he works with a friend of mine, Ty Lopez, who buys all kinds of companies. He buys these things called zombie brands, brands that are out of business, but still valuable because they have huge brand equity. Now, why on earth would they need somebody like me to be available to them? Well, because I've got, as Liam Neeson says, a very particular set of skills. I know how to help companies grow and exit. If you've got a skill like that a company, even a great company with tons of smart people like these, doesn't really have, or even just wants another person to bounce things off of, an advisory role could be exactly right for you. Okay, the second way to earn into equity is one of my all-time favorites. And here's what's cool about this. Look at this. If you can help a company, in this case, grow, this is anything operationally, but let's say that you're going to help them grow. Well, then you could get 10, 50, even more % of the company because you're helping them do something that's going to really move the needle for them.
Okay, so when we're looking at that and we're thinking about it, what's really huge for companies, especially startup companies, is their marketing, their branding, getting out there, their connections. If you have a talent and skill to make that happen, okay, we have to get out of our limited box, like I mentioned earlier, on what we're taught talent is and how to use it. Use it for ownership. If you have a company where you're actually doing that for your company, yes, some can hire you, but what about negotiating ownership or equity in a company that you completely believe in and you see it's going to take off? Especially if it's a company, as I mentioned earlier, that is in tech, something like that, things that are taking off. Then you want to negotiate, I can do this. You can negotiate a payment with it, but you can also look at negotiating ownership in that company and vice versa. If you're someone who has a company and you're struggling, and you may be struggling to move in areas in which you don't have that expertise, or you may not have the funds right now to pay for that expertise, then you can actually offer equity. You can offer it, and you offer it in a manner where they have ownership, but again, doesn't mean you have to relinquish your rights. You can curate what that situation look like however you think is most beneficial for you, for someone coming in or you going into someone else's situation. So this is how people that I'm around, is how they're thinking. We see people constantly growing. I'm doing all these deals and I'm like, whoa, these people are growing exponentially because it's not them just focusing on their one thing. They own a lot, but you may see front facing them doing this one thing. And some people may say too, I don't want to give away any equity in my company. I want 100% of all my shares, all my interests, whatever it is. But I always ask people, what is better? You own 100% of zero, 100% of 30,000 or whatever it is, or is it best to own, 90%? Let somebody else own 10%. but they can bring your situation up to 500,000 or more. So we have to start thinking out the box, start playing chess. I'm bringing the chess moves over that people who are thriving are playing. All right.
So let's talk about a couple of examples here. When I was asked to come and help one of my friends grow their event, they had some advertisers, but they had this little event, and they had about $40,000 worth of advertisers, 8 people that paid, I think, $5,000 a piece. And they didn't know how to grow that. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll show you how to get sponsors to come to your event, and it will pay for the entire event. It'll pay for the speakers, everything that it costs to be there, the AV, and also be profitable for you. So I came in there and I ended up getting just a little over a third of that event. I took my skills and my knowledge and I got with somebody that I hired to go and implement the things that I knew how to do. And we built the sponsors to $1 million, $2 million, $3 million plus. So the whole event now is paid for by sponsorships. Now, what I get is not a one-time fee for doing that. I have a third of that whole business, which is worth more than 8 figures right now, created completely out of nothing just by helping them. Another example, a SaaS, a software as a service. So this is a company that has software that helps people do webinars. Well, I happen to be reasonably connected in the world of marketing and that kind of thing. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll take all of the people that I know and I'll introduce them to you. And rather than just getting a one-time referral fee or a tiny little piece of the income that they generate, I want a piece of the company. So I partnered with another guy that has a very, very good experience in webinars, and we were able to negotiate 67% ownership in that company. 67% of a company that millions of dollars had been invested in only because I knew people to introduce them to.
Now I want to pause it right there. I don't want you to miss what was just said, because some people may say, okay, I hear what you're saying, Lakeisha, even in all of this, right? But what if I don't want to do X, Y, and Z? You just heard what he said. And this is what's done a lot. When I draft these contracts, when I negotiate these deals, there may be that person that's front facing that is actually getting the ownership equity based on what they're going to bring to the table. But what they end up doing is identifying people to partner with to actually get done what they're getting equity for. So like you just heard what he said, he, had connections. He brought his connections, but he also partnered with someone to say, hey, you do this. I need you to do this for me. And they were able to negotiate the percentage that they negotiated in that company. Now, 67% is extremely high. Yes, he did great things for the company, but 67% is high for other reasons that I'll talk about later. And these are some of the things you want to think about, that if you do, one, end up offering your talent to a company to get ownership, you want to make sure some things are in order, because now you are owner. So there's some things that you want to, vet. But also, if you're someone who owns a company and you want to bring someone in, some things to kind of know about how much equity that you give in your company. But I wanted to stop there for you to hear there's so many different ways. As long as you have a talent, again, your talent may be relationships. And this is why it's important for us to build relationships. But your talent may be relationships, that's skill. And your relationships can help you move forward in your situation. Your talent may be identifying people to partner with. And those people that partner with you is helping you to achieve whatever it is for you to get equity and ownership in your situation. Your talent may be just as knowledge that you know for advisory roles. So I just wanted to stop there and just kind of recap. And I didn't want you to miss that, because there's so many ways for you to get this done.
This is the magic of operationally generated equity. Okay, so here's the third thing that you can do for an equity earn-in. And this is really, really cool. So I call it a transaction assist because it means that every business has some transaction that they might want to enter into or something that they want to get accomplished that's a very limited thing. So it's not ongoing like an ops assist. Operational assistance is I'm going to come in and I'm going to work with this business over a period of time, and I'm going to get a pretty significant chunk of equity for that. But there are events that occur in the life of a business that might just be a one-time thing. They only need a sales team set up, or they only need to get a software dev team built, or they only need to sell their business. So exit assist for me is something that I can do to get pieces of equity in companies ranging typically from 5 to 10% of the company just for helping them sell. Now think about the magic of this. Think about how long it took people to come up with an idea, to raise the money or do whatever they needed to do to start this thing up, to build it, to grow it to the point where somebody actually wants to buy it. And now I'm going to come in for like a month or 3, and I'm going to spend maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 hours and get 5 or 10% of the ownership of the whole company. I'm doing a deal like this right now. It's going to take me a total, I'm in the middle of it, right? It's going to take me a total of about, I don't know, 15 hours to do this. My interest in what the company is selling for, the company's going to sell for about $30 million. I'm getting 5% for doing that. That's $1.5 million for about 15 hours of time. I think that.
Okay, I wanted you to hear that too, right? So now that's another part that I know people are probably thinking, how long or how much is being required of me? It could be a situation that you're helping a company for a period of time, but what you're helping that company for within that period of time is so crucial. You got to identify that. This may be a crucial thing that you're going to help this company with, where you can negotiate equity in that company, ownership in that company. So whatever and however that company benefits, it's not this one-off payoff thing for you. You benefit just like all the other owners benefit. So I used that one because I liked his. I searched all over. I said, when I have this conversation, I'm trying to find something to like make it make sense and give examples. There's so much out there. People just go all over the place. But I thought his was very clean, very to the point, and it helped me to bring home these points I'm trying to make, that no matter what you are doing, if you are the entrepreneur, if you're running a company, you can have ownership in others, or you can get very creative on how to elevate what you have going on by reversing this, by identifying people and having conversations on this level with people that you find the best of the best to bring you there. If you are an employee in companies, right? So this is totally different. Like I remember years ago, I used to work for Home Depot. You have some companies where you can get stock in the company and all these things. And, they call that ownership. That's investing. That's totally different. But I'm literally talking about where you can have some teeth in the game. This is how people are moving. And I wanted to share that and uncover that. This is even how I'm moving, right? So there's things that I'm doing because we don't want to get in a situation, even as entrepreneurs, we're working ourselves down to the ground and depending on this one thing. If we're talking about financial freedom and ownership, it's all the things. So I do the investments, but I also use my talents to negotiate certain things. Payment, that's fine. I take the pay for the different things that I do. But when I see something that is spectacular by my standard, then I look even beyond that to see how this can be literally a vested interest that continue to pay dividends off my talent that I'm giving out. So your talent, again, it's intellectual property in motion. I want us to get that. I want us to reframe our thoughts that talent is just this thing that make people feel good. I can create this great product and offer this great service or help an employer do whatever. I get all my employee of the month of the year awards. I want us to reframe that. And I want us to reframe that your talent is a business asset. That is what it is. And how are you flipping your asset? It's not even just a gift, right? It's a gift that you have this asset, that you have this talent, but don't even just say, okay, I'm gifted at this, I'm gonna do this and make this. Start looking at how can I use what I do best to offer to someone else that will constantly pay dividends for me, where I'm building my table in this situation. And even when I either walk away from it or put this little bit of time into it, I'm getting this and then some. We don't want to, just be asking for seats at tables. We want to start designing our own infrastructure. You are a mini empire. You can use your talent to launch platforms. That's great. You can use your talent to create products. That's great. But these partnerships, and I want us to understand, if there's anything that you walk away with, I want us to understand that you can be as creative as your mind allows you to be. Let us dismantle the belief of what certain terms mean. They mean whatever you create them to mean. But now I want to rewind to what I mentioned earlier before, right? When we collaborate, when you start looking now, what do I want to do? What tables do I want to build? What talent do I have? And how do I start identifying, these individuals? I want you to think about collaborating strategically, not out of desperation. Because when you do it strategically, you start asking yourself questions. And if you don't know the right questions to ask, find individuals to figure out what those questions are. But you want to collaborate strategically. Start small, see what's out there. And you know what? You're even going to be, on top of the talents you offer, you're even going to be more business savvy, because people are going to say, I didn't think about that. People that you may approach, depending on who you approach. Because if you're approaching the people that moves in the spaces that I do, they already thinking like that. Now all they're going to do is look at what genuinely can you bring to the table to help them. But that's what you want to do. We want to have some type of ownership. I watched a movie on Netflix. I don't know if it's still on there because it said recent. It's about to leave or something, but it was called 99 Homes. I don't know if anybody's seen that. 99 Homes. It was really good. It was about this guy he was in real estate. He owned a lot of property, but he was ruthless, evicting people and all this. And he ended up evicting one guy. It was a horrible situation. And then the guy ended up losing his job working with the construction company, but he ended up working for the guy that evicted him, that owns all this real estate. And he lost his job. And the guy who owned all the real estate say, listen, you can start working for me. You're out of work because you work for the construction company that builds the homes. I own them. And that is the mentality. The people that get this, that's the mentality. That's what we have to start standing on moving forward. Yes, check it out. That hit home. When he said that, I froze. I can't even watch movies or read news or listen to anything now without just dissecting certain things in the space that I am in right now. But that hit home. You can go work for this who's building this, but I own them. So you need to find, how can I own? So if you didn't see or attend last Tuesday, go learn about investments. Go learn about that. But I wanted to just bring it to you. They said, how do you keep information from some people? Put it in a book. You know what? You got to read to get it. But what Seek Elevation is saying, I'm not just going to put this out there. I could have just created a video and just said, hey, do this. I want people that are seeking. And I identify people that I know are seeking, and I alert them. I'm putting this information out there. I'm bringing to you what I know is working, what I'm applying to my personal life, what we all need to be doing to elevate and not be in fear or scarce what's going on right now. Okay, what are the chess moves I can make to help me in this situation? There's things that we cannot change. There's things that we can't, but there's things that we can. And I want us to start shifting our mind on what we can. So I wanted to give this to you. Some of the things I want you to think about, if you identify any type of partnerships or where you can walk into, or again, start asking, seeing if it's a situation where if somebody want to pay you, you can say, okay, I'll take this pay, but maybe negotiate possibly a little lower, but I would like equity. Let's talk about what that even looks like to have some equity into this company. If I can do this for your company, if I can provide that from your company. But what I want you to think about, remember I said you may not know the right questions to ask. So I want to give you this one thing. I'm going to give you this. When you look at whoever you may offer your talent to, who you may build with, or if you're looking to bring someone in, know that the percentage that you give away, the percentage that you keep, is a conversation for other people who may come in that may want to help your company. By default, and I see this a lot, right? So people will think, okay, I'm going into a partnership. This is two partners that may start something together, and they say we own 50-50. For so many reasons, that's not a good idea. You have to sit down as a partners and figure out what to do. It's not a good idea because 50-50, how decisions are going to be made, right? It should be 49-51, if anything. However, if you ever want to be in a position where you could bring people in that can do great things for you, and they vet your company, they're going to look at people who really understand. And now this is you, because you're going to have this conversation. They're going to look at how much do you own, how much do you give away. Investors or people that come into companies, be honest with you, I know we talk about the United States and what's going on now. We want a democracy. When it comes to business and excelling, it has to be a dictatorship. People don't want to see, people who elevate companies don't want to see democracy because they feel like it's a higher risk for them to be a part of that. They want to see that there's someone who can make all of the decisions if everyone can agree. They honestly look at a 65-35 situation. That's what they would like, right? So they would like, if you're partners, yes, they want someone 65-35. And the reason why they want even 35, because they want how many shares. If it was like 49-51, if you was to give a share to somebody else, they want you to leave shares completely open to give to people to come into your company to help build your company. And they want it to where if you give away a couple of shares, it's not over. So 65-35 is usually the ideal. You play around with that. So now you looking at going into a situation, you want to look, how much do you, okay, is this, first of all, is this company owned by more than one person? It is. Okay. Can you let me know the split on the ownership of this company? If the numbers sound anywhere close to what I told you, especially somebody say, okay, it's two of us and it's 49-51, you say, that's not just a situation for you. You need something that's less. But those are the things that you want to start thinking about. And then also have conversations. The second thing I'm going to leave you with is vesting. Some of us may know about this. It's just like if you work for a company, for some companies, they may say, okay, we're going to give you this particular benefit, but it's going to vest after a certain amount of time. You may want to talk about that, right? If there's other founders or if they're going to give you something, is this something that's vested? Do I get this immediately? Or if we're talking about something that vests, and what do I mean by vest? Just in case, let me not assume, just in case people don't understand. So if someone says, I'm going to give you, I don't know, 5% ownership, but 2.5% of that, you will get it if you're still here the second year. Or 2.5% of that, it'd be broken up over the next 3 years. You get 2.5 immediately, and then the 2.5 may be broken up, right? Because you're vesting to be there. For some people, especially that comes in to help companies, they like to kind of see that because they feel like if there's owners there with an incentive to stay and, do whatever they say they're going to do, that helps. But that's case by case. But this is something for you to know. If you're looking at a situation where you can become a owner, these are the questions I want you to think about. How much does the person own that you're going to offer your talent to in order to own? Vice versa, if you own something, know the conversations you need to have to get great people that's willing to come with you and not feel like it's a risk by how you're distributing what you own. And secondly, vesting. If you want to keep somebody in your company, you're the owner, think about, I'll give you this, but a portion of it may vest. Vice versa, understand that conversation if someone has it for you. But that's what I wanted to lay the foundation, is that we all have talent. And if we don't feel like doing the things, we create connections that can do the thing to help you get the ownership in whatever, and build your own tables. Stop doing all the work. Even if you're in retirement, listen, take your money, go find these young whippersnappers. Hey, you want to do this? Find what it is that they're amazing at in tech. Hey, partner with them. Create your contract between them. Of course, I'm going to say that because don't forget about the legal, right? Don't forget about the legal in this, especially you were an owner. I need you to do this. They're doing that for you, but you're actually getting ownership in a situation. So name, likeness, creation, your skill is utility, or skills are utility, and you protect it. You elevate it and start now identifying, how can I create ownership in addition to whatever I am actually doing? We're doing it for so many people. Now let's do it for ownership. Let's have those deeper, conversations other than how much you're going to pay me. And then we actually spend it. All right. That's the foundation I wanted to lay. But the reason why I wanted to do it on my own is because I want the guests to come in Tuesday and go deep. And I know there is no way we were going to have this conversation for me to touch on the things I wanted to touch on, and then allow my guests to have the stage to pour into us. We would have been here we already pushed 2 hours for most of our guests because it'd be getting good, it'd be getting deep. We would have been too long and we lose attention. So I wanted to have this time and space, just the latest foundation for your mindset. So when he comes on and talk about, building tables, his experience and all these different things, you are already on the right track to receive what you're actually hearing, especially when I ask some of the questions that I ask. You are already on the right track to understand and to, just track the situation. But this is how we're going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do this. We are going to elevate together. We are going to start thinking out of the box. Because why? Because Ella Keisha is going to bring you everything and anything that I learned and what I'm doing to the table for us to think out of our boxes. There shouldn't even be a box. We're not even think out the box. We're going to crush it. We're going to just demolish the box. There's no box. We create empires. So, all right. That is it. Thank you for the clap. Yes. Yay. That is what I wanted. So you got a sweet night tonight. I laid that foundation. So now you got to show up next Tuesday to hear it. And if you don't be able to show up, listen to the replay. So now you can put these two together. And then I want to start hearing some, stories of either who you connected with or what you actually did to start using your talent to build your tables. All right. So that is a wrap. What? Did I make it under? I made it under an hour. Should I sit on here for 2 minutes just to make it turn to 8 o'clock? But that is a wrap for today's episode of the Seek Elevation Experience. I, like every Tuesday, thank you so much for tuning in and engaging and adding value. And just like this is real estate, right? This is real estate. This is going to continue to expand and land on the hearts and the ears and the eyes of the people on time, always on time, pouring into you all. So you all make sure, one, that the more you know, the more you're growing, you're seeking, you're elevating, and you're connected with people that's doing the same. But also, the more you learn, you earn, but you have to share. When you share, you definitely show that you're caring about this topic. Everything ain't about, the tea or the mess or this or that. Some things is about building that beautiful place where you can sip your tea and you don't have to fret. So don't keep this knowledge to yourself. Spread the wisdom, tag friends, and let's continue to elevate together. Until next time, keep striving, keep growing, and most importantly, keep seeking elevation. See you next time. Peace and progress. Go share. Thank you.